Every night my wife's sister, who lives rent-free in my house, went into my son's room. One day I set up a camera and saw things I never could have imagined. My name's Marcus Reed, and apparently, I'm running a nonprofit. Not the good kind with smiling kids on brochures. Mine's the Housing Freeloaders Since 2023 variety. The main beneficiary? My wife's sister, Tiffany, the self-proclaimed temporary guest who moved in for a few months. That was 18 months, 2 broken remotes, and roughly 6 gallons of missing orange juice ago. Tiffany arrived like a hurricane made of perfume samples and half-baked apologies. Just until I find my own place, she'd said, dragging in more luggage than a runway model on tour. At the time, I didn't mind. Camille, my wife, said it would be good for family. I should have known family was code for Marcus, you're about to lose half your snacks and all your peace. Now, don't get me wrong. I love helping people. I just don't love feeding them indefinitely while they sleep till noon, binge Netflix on my account, and use my Wi-Fi like they're downloading the entire internet. Tiffany's morning routine is waking up around 11:58 a.m., declaring, "Ugh, I didn't sleep well," then pouring herself the last of my cereal while scrolling Instagram like it's a full-time job. I drive 18-wheelers for a living, long haul, state to state, mile to mile. There's something peaceful about endless asphalt and the hum of the highway. Out there, it's just me, the radio, and my thoughts, none of which complain about the thermostat being too cold. When I come home, I expect 2 things, my bed and my son's smile. Landon's 8, the kind of kid who can make a grown man tear up just by saying, "Dad, you're my hero." But lately my little sunshine's been dimming. The laugh that used to echo through the hallway now barely flickers. He sits quiet at dinner, poking at his food, eyes drifting somewhere else. One night, while I was tucking him in, he mumbled, "Aunt Tiffany's weird sometimes." I chuckled. "Weird how, bud?" He shrugged. "She just looks at me funny." "Funny how?" I asked, expecting him to say funny like clown funny. "Like she's mad and happy at the same time," he said. Then he pulled the blanket over his face and whispered, "Don't tell Mom." Now, I love my wife. Camille's sweet, caring, and loyal, except when it comes to her sister. Then logic leaves the building. If Tiffany told her the sun rose in the west, Camille would buy sunglasses for sunset breakfasts. So, when I brought it up, Camille said, "She's probably just tired, Marcus. Don't read too much into it." Right. Because sleep deprivation totally explains creepy looks at bedtime. Still, I brushed it off. Kids exaggerate, right? Maybe Landon caught her mid-eye roll. Maybe she's just awkward. I told myself not to overthink it. I was wrong. The next week, I came back from a 3-day route, Pittsburgh to Chicago and back. And something felt off the second I stepped inside. The house smelled different, like lavender candles trying too hard. Landon's toys were neatly arranged on the couch, Tiffany's couch, according to her, and she was sprawled across it, snoring like a chainsaw in hibernation. My snacks were gone, my beer was gone, and somehow my Netflix algorithm now thought I was a 30-year-old woman obsessed with dating shows and astrology podcasts. I walked upstairs and peeked into Landon's room. He was awake, sitting cross-legged, sketching superheroes. "Hey, champ," I whispered. He looked up, startled, like he hadn't heard me come in. "Oh, hey, Dad. You okay?" "Yeah. He hesitated, biting his lip. "Aunt Tiff said I shouldn't stay up late." "Smart advice," I said, but his tone didn't match the words. "Did she yell at you?" "No," he said quickly. "Too quickly. She just gets mad when I leave my door open. Says it lets bad energy in." Bad energy? The only bad energy in this house was Tiffany's aura after running out of oat milk. I wanted to laugh, but the way he avoided eye contact made my stomach twist. Later that night, while Camille and I were getting ready for bed, I tried again. "You notice anything weird with Tiff and Landon?" Camille sighed. "Weird like what?" "I don't know, just tense. He's quieter when she's around." She rolled her eyes. "Marcus, you're overreacting. Tiffany's been a big help. She picks him up from soccer when you're gone." "Oh, great. Maybe she can start paying rent with her big help, too." Camille didn't laugh. "She's family," she said again, her go-to shield. "Yeah, and family should pitch in, not pitch tents in the living room." She groaned. "Not this again." I let it drop, but my radar was buzzing now. You know that instinct parents get, the one that hums louder the more you try to ignore it? Mine was going off like a smoke alarm. A few days later, I was leaving for another trip, this one a 4-day haul to Texas. Before I left, Landon hugged me tighter than usual. "You'll be back soon, right?" he asked. "Of course," I said, ruffling his hair. "What's up?" "Nothing." He looked down. "Just, can I sleep in your room while you're gone?" That stopped me cold. "Why?" He shrugged. "It's comfy. Does Aunt Tiff know you want to?" "Yeah," but she said no. "No?" Who the hell was Tiffany to deny my son access to his parents' room? I forced a smile. "Don't worry, buddy. When I get back, we'll have a guy's night. Just you and me. Pizza, games, no aunts allowed." He grinned, and for a second, the old Landon peeked through. But as I drove that night, the thought wouldn't leave me. Why would she care where he slept? What exactly went on when I was gone? When I returned home 4 days later, the house looked spotless, too spotless. Camille and Tiffany were at the kitchen table, sipping wine like everything was normal. Landon was upstairs, napping. I kissed my wife hello, nodded at Tiffany, and went to unpack. But something tugged at me again. The walls felt heavier somehow. I peeked into Landon's room. He was curled up, fast asleep, but his door was wide open. So much for bad energy. Then I noticed something odd. His nightlight, the one shaped like a little blue rocket, was unplugged. Landon never slept without it. I plugged it back in, turned to leave, and froze. There, on the dresser, was Tiffany's phone. Not just sitting there, propped up, camera facing the bed. Recording. My blood went ice cold. I picked it up, the red timer blinking. 6 minutes and 30 seconds of footage. I hit stop, trying not to smash it against the wall. Before I could even breathe, Tiffany's voice drifted from the hallway. "Oh, Marcus. I was just, looking for my phone." "Yeah," I said, forcing calm. "Found it." I handed it to her, my hands shaking. She froze, her eyes darting like a cornered raccoon. "Thanks," she muttered, grabbing it and walking off. I stood there for a good minute, staring at the spot where she'd been, trying to process. What the hell was that? Why was her phone filming my son sleeping? That night, when I tried to bring it up, Camille brushed it off again. "Marcus, you're letting your imagination run wild." Tiffany probably dropped her phone there accidentally. Accidentally propped it up at the perfect angle? I snapped. "You believe that? She wouldn't hurt Landon." "I didn't say she would. But something's off, and you know it." She crossed her arms. "You've been away too much. You're seeing problems that aren't there." "Right. Because the guy who actually lives in reality is always the problem." I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about Landon's flinch, his quiet tone, that camera. Every nerve in my body screamed that something wasn't right. When morning came, I decided to watch how Tiffany acted around him. At breakfast, she was all smiles. "Morning, sunshine. Pancakes or waffles?" Landon hesitated. "Waffles." She cut one and slid it onto his plate. "There's my favorite nephew." He muttered, "I'm your only nephew," and forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I watched her every move. How she leaned too close when she spoke to him. How he kept inching away. How Camille laughed like this was a Hallmark commercial instead of a red flag convention. After breakfast, Tiffany grabbed her keys and said she was going to the store. She returned 3 hours later with exactly one bag. Candles, of all things. Big, scented, creepy candles labeled things like protection energy and soul balance. She winked at Landon and said, "These will help you sleep." If there was ever a time to get suspicious, it was right then. I spent the rest of the day pretending everything was fine, but inside I was already plotting. My trucker brain works like GPS. Once it locks onto a destination, it won't quit rerouting till it gets there. That night, I lay awake listening to footsteps in the hallway. Soft ones. Light. Not Camille's. I glanced at the clock, 11:47 p.m. I heard Landon's door creak open. My pulse spiked. I sat up, but by the time I reached the hallway, silence. I peeked around the corner. Nothing. Tiffany's door was closed. Still, I knew what I heard. As I stood there in the dark, I swore I could feel it. The shift in the air, the weight of something ugly I couldn't name yet. My father radar wasn't just buzzing now. It was screaming. So yeah, that's how it started. One freeloading sister-in-law, one uneasy kid, and one tired truck driver who just wanted his house back. But deep down, I knew the problem wasn't about rent anymore. Something worse had moved in, and it wasn't planning on paying either. If laziness were an Olympic sport, Tiffany would have taken gold, silver, and bronze, then complained that the medals clashed with her outfit. Every day, she managed to contribute absolutely nothing while acting like she was curing cancer by existing. I mean, this woman had a talent for doing nothing. Like she could teach a masterclass titled Minimal Effort, Maximum Annoyance. Now, I'm not one to judge someone who's down on their luck. I've had bad years. Hell, I've had bad decades. But Tiffany wasn't down on her luck. She was reclining on it, sipping my orange juice with a straw and asking me if the Wi-Fi was slower lately. Every time I came back from a haul, it was the same routine. Her lounging on my couch in one of Camille's old t-shirts, a reality TV marathon playing, and a blanket she refused to fold. She'd greet me with, "Hey, big spender, did you bring me anything?" Like I was Santa Claus and not a guy whose spine was being held together by truck stop coffee. But this time, something was off. Not in this she's still mooching way. That was normal. But in the way she interacted with Landon. I started noticing patterns. She was always around him. Not in the fun aunt who spoils the kid way, but in this possessive, hovering way that made me itch. When Camille was working in her little home office, Tiffany would find excuses to be near Landon. "I'm helping him with homework," she'd say. Except Landon was in second grade and Tiffany couldn't even spell there correctly half the time. "We're watching a movie," she'd claim. But the volume would be so low it was practically a silent film. And Landon? The kid who used to run to greet me at the door now seemed quieter every day. He'd play with his Legos in silence. No humming, no giggles, no "Dad, look what I built." He just looked drained, like someone had pulled the batteries out of my boy and left him on low power mode. One night, I got home early, a rare thing in my line of work. I opened the door to find the living room dark except for the glow of the TV. Tiffany was sitting there, eating chips like she was auditioning for a Doritos commercial. "Hey, you're back early," she said, crumbs falling like confetti. "Yeah," I replied, kicking off my boots. "Where's Landon?" She didn't look away from the screen. "Asleep. He was tired." I raised an eyebrow. "It's only 8. Kids get tired," she said flatly, like that was a valid scientific explanation. Camille was upstairs taking a shower, so I wandered down the hallway to peek into Landon's room. His door was cracked open, the light from his rocket nightlight spilling into the hallway. He was asleep, but even in sleep, something looked off. His little face was tense, his hands balled into fists. And then, I noticed Tiffany's door. Closed. Lights off. Except I could hear faint movement. Whispering, maybe. I crept closer. The whispering stopped. I knocked lightly. "Tiff." No answer. Weird. I shrugged it off and went back to bed, telling myself I was just tired. But my gut said otherwise. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee, which was unusual because Tiffany's idea of helping out was leaving her mug in the sink for the fairies to wash. She was standing at the counter, humming. "Morning," I said, suspicious already. "Morning," she chirped. "Made coffee." I frowned. "Since when do you make coffee?" She grinned, way too wide. "Just trying to help out around here." "Right. And I'm a ballerina." Camille came downstairs a few minutes later, all smiles. "See, Marcus? She's trying. Maybe ease up on her a bit." I glanced at Landon, who was sitting at the table, barely touching his cereal. "You okay, champ?" He nodded, eyes glued to the bowl. Tiffany reached over and patted his shoulder. "He's fine. Aren't you, sweetie?" He flinched. I saw it clear as day. I wanted to say something right there, but Camille was watching. Instead, I said, "Hey, Landon, come help me in the garage for a sec." Once we were out of earshot, I crouched beside him. "Hey, bud, what's up with Aunt Tiff? You sure you're okay?" He hesitated, fidgeting with the sleeve of his hoodie. She talks a lot." "Talks a lot how?" "Like, she whispers to me when I'm asleep. I wake up sometimes, and she's sitting in the chair by my bed." I froze. "What?" He looked up, scared he'd said too much. "She says she's making sure the bad dreams don't come back." The back of my neck tingled. "And this happens when Mom's asleep?" He nodded slowly. "Please don't tell her. Aunt Tiff said Mom would be mad." Now, if there's one thing I know about parenting, it's this. When someone tells your kid to keep secrets from you, you stop giving benefit of the doubt. You go straight into detective mode. That night, I told Camille what Landon had said. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought she'd sprained something. "Marcus, she probably just fell asleep in his room by accident. Every night. She's trying to be close to him. You're gone so often. Maybe she feels protective." "Protective?" I barked a laugh. Of what? His bedtime routine. Don't be dramatic, she snapped. She's family. Oh, there it was. The sacred phrase. She's family. Apparently, that line excused everything from freeloading to midnight whispering sessions. That night, I lay awake again. Around midnight, I heard footsteps, soft, deliberate. I peeked through the crack in our bedroom door and saw her shadow gliding down the hall, straight to Landon's room. I slipped out of bed and crept after her, slow as a cat. When I reached the doorway, I saw her sitting beside his bed, head bowed, whispering something. Landon's face twitched in his sleep. What the hell? I whispered under my breath. She must have sensed me, because she jerked up like I'd fired a gun. Oh, I was just checking on him. Yeah, I said, stepping into the room. At midnight. He was tossing and turning, she said quickly. I didn't want him to have a nightmare. Then why were you whispering? I was praying, she said, her voice shaking. I narrowed my eyes. Right. Well, he's good now. You can, pray in your room. She practically ran out of there. I turned to look at Landon, who was half awake now. Dad, he mumbled. Go back to sleep, buddy, I said softly. You're safe. But was he? The next morning, Tiffany acted like nothing happened. She was all smiles, humming again, wearing one of Camille's robes like she owned the place. Sleep well? I asked pointedly. Oh, best sleep ever, she said, not looking at me. Yeah, I bet. Camille caught the tension. Marcus, please, don't start. I'm not starting anything, I said, pouring coffee. Just curious how our guest sleeps so well while the rest of us are losing our minds. Tiffany fake laughed. You're so funny, Marcus. Yeah, I said, I try. Later that day, when Tiffany went out for errands, I decided to check her room. Camille was busy, so I had 10 minutes max before I'd get the "you're invading her privacy" speech. The first thing I noticed, candles. Lots of them. Weird ones. Some half-burned, some labeled things like negative energy cleanse and third eye clarity. Oh, and a small journal sitting open on her nightstand. I didn't mean to read it. Okay, fine, I absolutely meant to. It was filled with messy handwriting and doodles of symbols that looked like rejected Ouija board designs. The entry on top read, Landon feels the energy shift. He's the pure one. Must protect him from Marcus's shadow. Excuse me? My shadow? I closed the book, backed out of the room, and had to resist the urge to pour holy water everywhere. That night, I told Camille again, trying not to sound like a man reporting a ghost sighting. Your sister's writing about energy shifts and my shadow. That's not normal. She sighed. Marcus, she's into holistic stuff. Crystals, energies, it's harmless. Harmless? I asked, incredulous. She's creeping into Landon's room in the middle of the night. That's not harmless. That's the prequel to an exorcism movie. Camille rubbed her temples. You always assume the worst. Yeah, I muttered, because assuming the best got us a live-in witch who eats all my chips. She walked away, muttering something about needing space. I didn't even care. That night, when Tiffany walked down the hall again, I didn't move. I just listened. The footsteps stopped outside Landon's room. The door creaked open, then shut again. I didn't sleep. My gut had stopped buzzing. Now it was screaming. The next morning, Landon came downstairs pale and quiet. Bad dreams again? I asked. He nodded. She said I'm special, that I have to let her keep me safe. I froze. She said that. He nodded again, eyes wide. She said I shouldn't tell you, or the bad spirits might come back. That was it. That was the moment the nice guy in me packed up and left. Tiffany wasn't just a freeloader. She was something worse, an energy vampire. Not in the literal fangs and blood sense, but in the sucks the light out of everyone around her sense. And she'd chosen my son as her new battery. I smiled at Landon, trying to stay calm. Don't worry, buddy. Dad's got this. That evening, while Camille was upstairs, I sat across from Tiffany at the dinner table. Hey, Tiff, I said casually. How's the vibe in the house lately? She blinked. The vibe? Yeah, the vibe. The energy. You know, since you're all about that. She tilted her head, suspicious. It's fine. What? Just wondering, I said, leaning forward. Because mine's about to change real soon. She forced a laugh. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled all teeth. You'll see. She didn't know it yet, but I'd already made up my mind. I was done playing nice. Done being the landlord of lunacy. It was time to expose her for what she really was, and I knew exactly how to do it. There's a certain kind of silence that hits a house when something's wrong. Not the peaceful kind after a long day. I mean that heavy, electric stillness where even the fridge hum sounds like it's holding its breath. That's what our home felt like lately. Like the walls knew something I didn't. Tiffany was still in full freeloading glory. Same, "I'll get a job soon" speech, same pile of Amazon packages addressed to my name. But now there was this extra layer of weird, mostly centered around bedtime. Landon used to be easy. Bath, pajamas, a little Captain Galaxy story, and he'd be out like a light. Now bedtime was a battle. He'd stall, fake bathroom breaks, say he wasn't tired. The first time I brushed it off as kid stuff. The fifth time, I started paying attention. It was around 9:30 one night when I caught him sitting on his bed, wide-eyed, staring at the hallway. "Everything okay, bud?" I asked. He nodded quickly, too quickly. "Yeah, just not sleepy." "Did you drink soda again?" He shook his head. "No, it's just," he trailed off, chewing his lip. "Just what?" He hesitated. "Aunt Tiffany walks around at night." My heart skipped. Walks around how? She talks to herself. Sometimes she stops at my door. Now, I've heard my fair share of strange truck stop confessions in my life, but hearing that from my 8-year-old hit different. I forced a chuckle to keep him calm. Probably just stretching her legs. "You know how your aunt is." He didn't laugh. "She whispers things." "What kind of things?" He shrugged. "I don't know. It's like she's talking to someone else." That was it. The laugh died in my throat. "All right," I said, keeping my voice light. "You tell me next time you hear her, okay?" He nodded, clearly relieved. But as I turned off the light, his small voice followed me. "Dad." "Yeah, bud. Don't tell her I told you." I froze. "Why not?" "She said you wouldn't understand." That right there, that sentence, hit like a brick to the ribs. Wouldn't understand? Oh, I understood plenty. I just didn't know what I was understanding yet. The next few nights, I kept watch. Every time I was home, I stayed up past midnight pretending to scroll my phone. Camille thought I was doom-scrolling truck memes. In reality, I was timing Tiffany's nightly patrol. Sure enough, around 11:45, her door creaked open. Soft steps padded down the hallway. I cracked our bedroom door just enough to see her silhouette. Pale nightgown, barefoot, hair messy like she'd been running her hands through it. She moved slow, deliberate, like she didn't want to wake anyone, or didn't want to be caught. She stopped outside Landon's door. For a full minute, she just stood there. Then, quietly, she slipped inside. Now, I wanted to believe she was checking on him. I really did. But even my dog, rest his soul, never took that long to check on anything. After 5 minutes, I couldn't take it. I walked down the hall and pushed the door open. Tiffany spun around like she'd been hit with a spotlight. "Oh my God, Marcus," she gasped. "What are you doing?" I said. I heard him talking in his sleep," she stammered. "I was making sure he was okay." Landon stirred, half awake. "Dad, it's okay, buddy," I said softly, not breaking eye contact with her. "Go back to sleep." Tiffany was pale as flour. I didn't mean to." "Maybe next time," I interrupted. "Try doing that from your room." She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, but then just nodded and slipped past me, mumbling something about bad dreams. The second she left, I leaned against the doorframe, pulse pounding. I looked down at Landon. His breathing was fast, shallow. He was pretending to be asleep. I wanted to scoop him up, take him right into our room, lock the door, and sleep with one eye open. But I didn't want to scare him more. Instead, I whispered, "You're good, champ. Dad's here." The next morning, Tiffany acted like nothing happened. She came down in her robe, hair wrapped in a towel, holding her mug like she was auditioning for a Folgers commercial. "Morning," she chirped. Camille smiled. "Morning. Did you sleep well?" "Like a baby," Tiffany said. "Yeah, if the baby was possessed." I poured coffee and said nothing, but I could feel my eye twitching. She was too calm, too chirpy. Landon came down, dragging his backpack. I noticed his dark circles. They were new. "You sleep okay?" I asked. He just shrugged. Camille frowned. "He's been tired lately. Maybe too much screen time." "Yeah," I said slowly. "Screen time." I didn't want to start a fight at breakfast, but I was done pretending this was normal. My radar wasn't buzzing anymore. It was screaming into a megaphone. That afternoon, I decided to do a little investigating. Nothing dramatic, just dad-style reconnaissance. When Tiffany left to go for a walk, translation, visit Starbucks, and scroll Instagram for 2 hours. I peeked into her room. The first thing I noticed was that her bed looked untouched. The sheets were flat, crisp, like no one had slept there. I frowned. She wasn't sleeping here, so where the hell was she sleeping? Then I saw it. A small lamp on her nightstand, left on. Underneath it, a notebook. Curiosity got the better of me. The handwriting inside looked like someone trying to write poetry after 3 Red Bulls. Energy flows where fear grows. One page read. Another said, "The boy's light dims at night. I must keep him safe." Excuse me, what? I slammed it shut just as I heard the front door open. I barely made it out of the room before she came upstairs humming. She looked at me suspiciously. "Hey, Marcus, what are you doing up here?" "Checking the smoke alarm." I lied. She nodded slowly. "You're always watching things, huh?" "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile. "Old habit." When I got downstairs, I sat on the couch, mind spinning. My wife's sister wasn't just lazy, she was strange. And possibly delusional. That night, I decided to test something. I told Camille I had a late delivery run to cover for a friend. She kissed me goodnight and went to bed. Instead, I parked my truck a few blocks away and crept back into the house through the side door like I was in a low-budget spy movie. The house was dark, dead quiet. At 11:50, Tiffany's door creaked. I held my breath. She stepped out in that same pale nightgown, holding something in her hand, a small bottle. She tiptoed down the hallway. My heart hammered as she opened Landon's door. I crept closer and peeked in. She was standing over his bed, unscrewing the bottle cap. She poured a few drops into her hand, oil or something, and whispered, "Protect your dreams, little one." That's when Landon stirred and whispered, "Aunt Tiff." She froze, then smiled down at him. "Shoo. It's okay, sweetheart. Auntie's helping you." "Helping him with what?" I stepped inside. "Tiff." She jumped like I'd dumped ice water on her. "Marcus. Jesus." "Couldn't sleep," I said, voice cold. "Figured I'd check on my kid. You know, like parents do." Her mouth opened and closed. I was just saving him from bad energy. You've mentioned that before." She looked guilty, defensive. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." She clutched the bottle to her chest. "He's sensitive. He sees things. I'm helping him. Camille doesn't see it, but I do." I took a step closer. "He's 8. The only thing he sees at night should be dreams about Spider-Man." Her face twisted. "You don't get it, Marcus. You bring home bad energy. From your job. From all that anger." "Anger?" "The only anger I had was right now, directed at the barefoot moon worshipper invading my kid's dreams." "Go to bed, Tiffany," I said quietly. "Now." She glared at me, but she went. When she was gone, I looked at Landon. He was trembling. "Dad." "Yeah, bud. What's wrong with Aunt Tiff?" I sighed, tucking the blanket around him. "She's just confused. But you don't have to worry. I'm here now." He nodded, eyes drooping. "Can you leave the light on?" "Of course." I sat in the hallway for another hour, listening. No more footsteps. No more whispers. Just the steady breathing of my kid finally getting real rest. When I crawled into bed beside Camille later, she murmured sleepily, "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I whispered. "Everything's fine." Lie of the century, because something was definitely not fine. Whatever Tiffany thought she was doing, it wasn't just being weird. It was deliberate, repetitive, and every time she crept into that room, she took a little more of Landon's light with her. So I made a promise to myself that night, the kind of promise dads make when instinct kicks in. The next time she pulled one of her midnight visits, I wouldn't interrupt. I'd watch. I'd record. And when I had proof, not even Camille could deny what her sister had turned into. That was the night nice Marcus clocked out for good. You ever hit that point where your gut keeps screaming at you so loud, you start arguing with it? That was me. Every nerve in my body was saying, "Marcus, it's time to stop pretending your freeloading sister-in-law is just quirky." But the logical part of me, the part that still believed in not causing a scene, kept whispering, "Don't do anything drastic." And then I remembered who I was. A long-haul truck driver who'd once duct-taped a side mirror back on with gum wrappers and attitude. I don't do subtle. I do solutions. So the next morning, I told Camille I had a delivery in Albany that'd keep me overnight. In reality, I was heading straight to Best Buy like a man on a mission. Now, if you've ever walked into a tech store while clearly up to something, you know the look the employees give you. Part concern, part, is this guy planning a heist? The kid at the counter, name tag reading Trevor, greeted me with way too much enthusiasm. "Hey man, looking for a new TV today?" "Nope," I said. "Looking for peace of mind." He blinked. Okay, so like, home security? Something like that." I leaned in a little, lowering my voice. "I need something small, hidden, records in the dark, and streams to my phone." Trevor's eyes widened. "You trying to catch a cheater or something?" "Something," I said again, straight-faced. He grinned like we were in a spy movie. "Dude, I got just the thing." 10 minutes later, I walked out with a tiny camera disguised as a toy robot, the kind of gadget only a parent or a paranoid genius would buy. Which, lucky me, I was both. When I got home, Camille was folding laundry while Tiffany scrolled her phone, sprawled across the couch like Cleopatra waiting for grapes. "How was the run?" Camille asked. "Long," I said. "Glad to be home." "Good," Tiffany said, not looking up. "We missed you." "Yeah, I bet." That night, after everyone went to bed, I set up my little undercover robot soldier in Landon's room. I placed it on his dresser facing the bed, perfect angle. I ran the power cable behind a stack of books and tested the feed from my phone. Clear as day. I could see the bed, the doorway, and even a slice of hallway light. Landon stirred. "Dad, what are you doing?" I smiled, kneeling beside him. "Just fixing your robot, bud. Gonna keep an eye out for monsters, okay?" He grinned sleepily. "Cool. Yeah, cool. Cool and horrifying at the same time." I kissed his forehead and went to bed, pretending like this was just another Tuesday. But once Camille's breathing slowed beside me, I opened my phone and launched the feed. At 11 o'clock, nothing. Midnight, nothing. Around 11:43, my phone vibrated, motion detected. I squinted at the screen. Tiffany's door opened. There she was, creeping down the hallway in that same ghostly nightgown. No phone light, no flashlight, just gliding like a damn horror movie extra. She paused outside Landon's room, hand on the doorframe, then slipped inside. My grip on the phone tightened. I zoomed in. She tiptoed closer to his bed, sat beside him, and whispered something. I couldn't hear it, but I could see her lips moving. Landon stirred. She didn't move away. Then she reached into her robe pocket and pulled out her phone, turned it on, pointed it at him. Recording. My stomach flipped. She adjusted the angle, brushed his hair back with her hand, gently, almost lovingly, then whispered something else. Landon shifted, mumbling in his sleep, and she smiled. Smiled. Every part of me wanted to charge in there and throw her and that phone straight out the window. But I didn't. I needed proof. Hard proof. Because if I confronted her now, Camille would find a way to twist it back on me. "Marcus, you're overreacting." "Marcus, she's family." "No, not this time." After about 6 minutes, Tiffany stood up, turned off her phone, and left the room. I waited another 30 seconds before replaying the footage. And there it was, clear as daylight. Tiffany recording my sleeping son, whispering his name, touching his hair. My jaw locked. You know that feeling when rage and disbelief hit at the same time? It's like someone replaced your blood with boiling water. I wanted to storm into her room right then and demand answers, but I forced myself to breathe. My dad once told me, "Don't fight mad, fight smart." So I decided to play it smart. The next morning, I sat at the table nursing coffee that tasted like acid. Tiffany floated in, wearing sunglasses and a smug smile. "Morning," she said, yawning. "Sleep well?" I asked. "Oh yeah, best night in ages." "I bet," I said, smiling thinly. Camille, blissfully unaware, was humming as she packed Landon's lunch. "Tiff, can you grab some milk from the store later?" "Sure thing," she said. I watched her. She didn't meet my eyes. After Camille left for errands, I caught Tiffany alone. "Hey, mind if I ask you something?" She looked up from her phone. "What's up? You record a lot of videos on that thing." Her eyebrows shot up. "What?" "No. What? Just wondering," I said, sipping my coffee. "Because you left it out the other night. In Landon's room." She froze. I must have dropped it." "Uh-huh," I said flatly. "Dropped it, positioned perfectly toward his bed, and hit record?" Her face went pale. "You're crazy, Marcus." "Maybe," I said, leaning closer. "But not as crazy as someone sneaking into an 8-year-old's room with a camera." Her eyes darted toward the hallway, calculating her next lie. I was checking on him. He was having nightmares. I chuckled darkly. "And the camera helps with that?" She said nothing, just grabbed her mug and scurried off. I waited for Camille to come home before dropping the bomb. She was unloading groceries when I said, "We need to talk." Her immediate sigh told me I was about to enter another round of Defend the Sister. "What now, Marcus?" she said, not even looking up. "Tiffany's been recording Landon while he sleeps." She froze, turning to me. "What?" "I caught it on camera." "You what?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the footage. Camille watched silently for about 10 seconds, then pulled back like she'd touched fire. "You filmed her?" My heart dropped. "Wait, what?" "That's invasion of privacy," she snapped. "You can't just put cameras in the house." "Camille." She was probably just checking on him. At midnight. With a phone. I said, incredulous. "Are you hearing yourself?" "You're always so suspicious of her," she said, tears welling up. "You hate my sister." I wanted to laugh. "Hate her? Lady, your sister's a walking red flag wrapped in bathrobes and weird energy oils." "I don't hate her," I said slowly. "I hate what she's doing. There's a difference." Camille crossed her arms. "Delete it." "No," I said. "Not until we talk this through." She stormed off, and for the rest of the night, the house was thick with tension. Tiffany stayed locked in her room, probably burning sage or plotting her next act. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the footage over and over. That creepy whisper looped in my head. By morning, I made a decision. I needed more evidence, not just one recording. Because right now, Camille was clinging to denial like it was a life raft. But denial doesn't stand a chance against repeat offenses. So I upgraded my setup. Moved the camera a little higher this time, now hidden in the air vent with an even better angle. Added a second one facing the hallway. When you drive trucks for years, you learn the art of patience. You can stare down 200 miles of empty road and keep your focus. This was just another long haul. That night, I pretended to go to bed early. Camille was cold but quiet, pretending not to care. Tiffany watched some show in the living room, then disappeared into her room. Around 11:38, motion alert. I opened the app, and there she was again. Only this time, she wasn't empty-handed. She was holding something small, a candle. My pulse shot up. She lit it as she entered Landon's room, her lips moving fast, frantic. She knelt beside his bed, holding the candle near his head, whispering louder now. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught fragments. "Keep him safe. Bad spirits gone, light protects." Protects him from what? Rent payments? Reality? At one point, she reached under his pillow, pulled out a tiny pouch, and sprinkled something. Salt, maybe. Around the bed. My chest burned. Landon stirred. "Aunt Tiff." She shushed him. "Go back to sleep, baby." That's when I saw it. His tiny hand moving toward the edge of the bed like he wanted to push her away. That was all I needed. I ended the live feed, jumped out of bed, and stormed down the hall. When I threw open that door, Tiffany screamed, the candle tipping, wax splattering on the floor. "Marcus," she shrieked. "What the hell is this?" I barked, pointing at her. "You lighting candles in my kid's room now?" She clutched the candle like a weapon. "You don't understand. I'm protecting him." "From what? My electricity bill?" "From you," she blurted. That stopped me cold. "From me?" I repeated. She nodded wildly, eyes glassy. "Your energy hurts him. I can see it. I can feel it." Camille appeared at the door, half asleep, confused. "What's going on?" "She's been doing some kind of ritual in Landon's room," I said, still glaring at Tiffany. Camille's eyes darted between us, panic rising. "Tiff, tell me that's not true." Tiffany burst into tears. "I'm trying to help. You wouldn't understand." Oh, I understood plenty. I turned to Camille, holding out my phone. "It's all here. Every night. You wanted proof? Congratulations, you're married to the guy who's been recording a live horror show." Camille covered her mouth, shaking. Tiffany sobbed louder. Landon peeked out from under his blanket, terrified. That's when I knew the time for arguing was over. Tomorrow, things were going to change. And this time, there'd be no "she's family" excuse to hide behind. There are moments in a man's life where his jaw actually hurts from how hard he's clenching it. That was me the morning after catching Tiffany, the discount priestess of bad decisions, waving a candle around my kid's room like she was blessing the furniture. I'd spent most of the night replaying the footage, half furious, half horrified, fully awake. Camille barely said a word. She just stared at her coffee like it might explain the nightmare her sister had turned our home into. The next morning, I tried to play it calm. Not easy when you're living with someone who treats midnight witchcraft like yoga. Tiffany waltzed into the kitchen in her silk robe, humming. She had the audacity to say, "Morning. I made smoothies." "Oh, good," I said. "Detoxing from your exorcism?" Camille glared at me. Tiffany blinked. "I don't know what you mean." I smiled thinly. "You know exactly what I mean." Camille snapped. "Marcus, not now. We've all had a long night. Some of us longer than others," I muttered, sipping burnt coffee. Tiffany stormed off, but not before mumbling something about negative male energy. "Yeah, sure, sweetheart. It's called testosterone and paying rent." After she left the kitchen, Camille dropped her voice. "You can't keep provoking her." "Provoking her? She's out here whispering over candles in my son's room like it's The Conjuring, and I'm the problem." "She's not well," Camille said softly. "You saw her. She needs help." "Great," I said. "There's a therapist on Google Maps 2 blocks away." "Not in my guest room." Camille looked torn. "She's family, Marcus. We can't just—" There it was again. The sacred chant of denial. She's family. I stood up. "You keep saying that like it's a free pass to be insane." She frowned. "She's just lost. You don't understand her like I do." "Oh, I understand her fine," I said. "She's lost, but not in life. She's lost in my damn house." I walked out before I said something unforgivable. Because, trust me, I was close. That day, I had to take my truck out for a local run. But even behind the wheel, the whole situation kept looping in my head. Tiffany creeping in the dark. My kid flinching. Camille pretending it was fine. When I got back around sunset, I noticed Landon on the couch watching cartoons, but he wasn't laughing. His little shoulders were hunched. That kid could read a room better than most adults. He knew tension was thick enough to slice with a butter knife. "Hey, champ," I said gently. "You okay?" He nodded, eyes glued to the TV. "Mom home." "In the kitchen," he said softly. "Aunt Tiff's upstairs." "Good," I muttered. I went to the kitchen. Camille was cutting vegetables like the knife had personally offended her. "You want to talk?" I asked. "About what?" she said, still chopping. "About your sister recording our son like she's making a weird documentary." Her hands froze. "I told you. She was trying to help." "Help him what? Audition for Paranormal Activity." She dropped the knife. "You don't get it. She's fragile, Marcus." "Fragile?" "She's one seance away from a padded room." "Don't," Camille said sharply. "She's my sister." I ran a hand through my hair. "Camille, I'm done pretending this is fine. She's crossed the line." Camille looked exhausted. "So what do you want to do? Kick her out? In front of Landon?" I paused. That hit me in the gut. "I want to protect my kid," I said quietly. "Whatever that takes." We stood there in silence until she turned back to the cutting board. "Just don't do anything rash, okay?" Too late. I'd already done the mental math on rash. That night, I couldn't shake the image of Tiffany smiling over my sleeping son. So I decided to check the new footage again. The cameras were still rolling. When I opened the app, I expected silence. Instead, the timeline showed another clip. Last night, 2:17 a.m. My stomach dropped. I hit play. The footage showed Tiffany standing in Landon's doorway again. But this time, she wasn't alone. She had her phone out, flashlight on, pointed directly at his face. She was recording again, whispering. I cranked up the volume. Her voice was clear this time. "You look just like him when he was little. You'll understand when you're older." My chest tightened. "Like who?" I fast-forwarded. She brushed his hair with her fingers, still talking softly. "Don't worry. Aunt Tiff will always protect you from bad people, even if they're in this house." I felt something snap inside me. I stormed upstairs, adrenaline pounding. When I reached her door, I didn't knock. I kicked it open. Tiffany shot up in bed, startled. "Marcus, what are you?" I held up my phone. "You want to explain this?" She blinked, feigning confusion. "What are you talking about?" I hit play. Her voice filled the room. "You look just like him when he was little." Her face drained of color. "Where did you get that? You think I wouldn't find out?" I warned. "You've been filming my son like a lunatic." She jumped off the bed. "Stop it. You're scaring me." "Good," I snapped. "Maybe now we're even." The door behind me opened. Camille, wide-eyed. "Marcus, what's happening?" "She's been recording Landon again," I said, showing her the phone. Tiffany screamed. "He's lying. He's making me look crazy." "Sweetheart, it's right here," I shouted, thrusting the phone toward Camille. "Play it." Camille hesitated. Tiffany was crying now, big, ugly sobs. He hates me, Cammy. He's always hated me. Camille's hands shook as she took the phone. She played 10 seconds, then stopped. Marcus, what the hell is this? That's what I've been trying to tell you. Tiffany wailed. It's not what it looks like. I stared at her, incredulous. Oh really? What does it look like then, Tiff? A bedtime vlog. I was just checking on him, she said through tears. He's been having nightmares. You're gone all the time, and Camille's tired. Somebody has to care. That somebody, word hit me wrong. You don't get to say that, I growled. You live under my roof, eat my food, and record my son. You're lucky I don't call the cops right now. Tiffany's face twisted. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Camille stepped between us. Enough. We stood there, a three-person standoff at 2 in the morning. Landon's light flicked on down the hall. Mom, he called softly. Camille rushed to him. Go back to bed, baby. It's okay. But it wasn't okay. None of it was. I went downstairs, pacing. I needed air, logic, something. But all I could think about was the look in Tiffany's eyes when she said, You'll understand when you're older. Understand what? When Camille came down 20 minutes later, she looked shell-shocked. She's sleeping now, she whispered. Good, I said. Tomorrow she's leaving. Marcus. No. I mean it, Camille. I don't care if I have to pay for her hotel. She's out. Camille rubbed her temples. You can't just throw her out in the middle of a breakdown. Then call her an Uber to a therapist. She looked at me, pleading. Just one more day? Let me talk to her. One more day, I said coldly. Then I'm done. I went to bed and stared at the ceiling till dawn. But Tiffany wasn't done yet. The next night, I got another alert at 12:09 a.m. I opened the feed, half hoping it was a false alarm. Nope. There she was again. But this time, she wasn't recording Landon. She was talking to him. He was awake, sitting up, looking scared. She held his hand. Don't worry, baby. Aunt Tiff's gonna take care of you. You'll be safe soon. From who? He whispered. She smiled. This slow, twisted thing that made my skin crawl. From the ones who don't understand you. That was enough. I didn't wait this time. I charged in, flipped on the lights, and shouted, Get away from him. Tiffany jumped up like a startled cat. Marcus, stop. Landon burst into tears. Camille ran in seconds later. What's happening now? I pointed at Tiffany. Check my phone. She's doing it again. Camille's face drained as she looked at Landon crying. Tiff, go downstairs. Now. Tiffany started to argue, but Camille's tone turned sharp for the first time. Now, Tiffany. That finally did it. She stormed off, muttering about how ungrateful everyone was. I pulled Landon close. He was trembling. It's okay, buddy. She's not coming near you again. The next morning, Camille didn't argue anymore. She saw it all on the footage. The whispering. The recording. The candle. She sat at the table, pale and silent, coffee untouched. I don't even recognize her, she said quietly. Yeah, I said, exhausted. Welcome to the club. That afternoon, while Tiffany was out, I packed her things. Suitcase, clothes, all of it. I didn't even care if she screamed. But she didn't scream. When she got home and saw the bags by the door, she just laughed, that eerie, hollow laugh that made my skin crawl. You think this house will be peaceful without me? She said softly. You'll see. Good, I said, opening the door. Then I'll finally get some sleep. She walked out, slow, like she was floating. And for the first time in months, the air in that house felt breathable again. But even as I locked the door, I couldn't shake the sound of her voice saying, You'll see. Because crazy or not, she'd left something behind, something that felt bigger than bad vibes. And I wasn't sure what it was yet. If there were a manual for dealing with freeloading in-laws who dabble in midnight candle magic, I would have memorized it cover to cover by now. But since that book doesn't exist, I had to write my own playbook. Title, Operation Eviction. How to remove a lunatic from your home without getting arrested. Camille didn't like the title, or the plan, or me, for that matter, because apparently, I was making things worse. Right. Because me catching her sister whispering over our son like some unlicensed exorcist was clearly an overreaction on my part. That morning after Tiffany's latest episode, I tried to do the rational thing, show Camille the proof. I had everything. Timestamps, videos, audio of Tiffany whispering creepy affirmations like, You look just like your dad when he was little. It was all there, ready to go. When I played the first clip, Camille's reaction was not what I expected. She didn't gasp, didn't freak out. She fumed. Marcus, you violated her privacy. I blinked. Excuse me. You can't just install hidden cameras in the house. What if I'd walked in there? Well, you didn't, I said flatly. But your sister sure did. That's not the point, she shouted. Then what is? Because the point to me is that your sister is recording our son at night and chanting nonsense in his room. Camille's eyes flashed. You don't know what she was doing. Oh, I think I do, I said, scrolling to another clip. You want me to hit play again? Maybe this time we can have popcorn. She slapped the phone out of my hand. Enough. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just fighting Tiffany. I was fighting denial. Thick, unbreakable, titanium-grade denial. She stormed off, slamming the bedroom door so hard the picture frame rattled. Tiffany came downstairs 10 minutes later, her face perfectly composed, holding a cup of tea like she was starring in a British period drama. Everything okay? She asked sweetly. I gave her a look that could melt steel. You tell me. She blinked, feigning innocence. Marcus, I don't know what you think you saw. Oh, you know exactly what I saw. I was protecting him, she said softly, her voice trembling just enough to sound rehearsed. You don't believe in energy work, so you wouldn't understand. You're right, I said. I don't understand why you're still living here. Her lip quivered. You want to kick me out? Yes. Glad we're finally on the same page. She gasped like I'd proposed arson. Camille will never agree to that. Camille, I said, isn't the homeowner. That shut her up for about 5 seconds, which, in Tiffany time, is an eternity. Then she switched tactics. I can leave, she said quietly, but Landon will miss me. I leaned forward. If you ever say his name again, I swear. Marcus, Camille barked from the stairs, having caught only half the sentence. Stop threatening my sister. Perfect timing, as always. I threw my hands up. You know what? Fine. I'll be the bad guy. Again. Camille ran to comfort Tiffany, who started crying right on cue. I just wanted to help, she sobbed into Camille's shoulder. I never meant to cause trouble. Yeah, sure. And I never meant to discover Wi-Fi passwords. They both disappeared upstairs. I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at my mug, thinking, this is how horror movies start. Nobody believes Dad. So, I decided to stop asking for belief. I'd get proof. More proof. Unarguable proof. That night, after everyone went to bed, I repositioned the cameras. One in Landon's room, another facing the hallway, and a third, this time in the living room, just in case Tiffany decided to expand her witchcraft to other square footage. Then I waited. Now, waiting when you're angry is an art form. It's pacing between rooms, checking your phone every 30 seconds, pretending to watch TV, but really watching the shadows. Around 11:50, I heard movement. The hallway camera pinged. Tiffany again. She wasn't holding a candle this time, though. She had a bowl of water. What was this, baptism now? She crept into Landon's room, muttering something about cleansing energy. I zoomed in. She dipped her fingers in the bowl and flicked water toward his bed like she was seasoning a steak. I could feel my blood pressure spiking. When she started whispering, "Let go of his light, let go," I had enough footage to make Spielberg jealous. The next morning, I called in backup, my brother, Kevin. He's a cop. More importantly, he's the kind of cop who enjoys seeing chaos unfold at other people's houses as long as he's not on duty. He showed up in uniform, which I didn't ask for but appreciated. Nothing says, "Get your stuff together," like a badge at breakfast. When Tiffany saw him walk in, she froze mid-bite of avocado toast. "Morning," Kevin said cheerfully. "How's everyone doing?" Fine." Camille stammered, clearly nervous. "Marcus, what's he doing here?" "Just thought we'd have some coffee with family," I said, smiling way too wide. Kevin sipped his mug like he was watching a movie. "So, Tiffany, I hear you've been losing sleep lately?" Her eyes darted to me, panic creeping in. Sometimes." "What?" "Because," I said, pulling out my phone, "I think I know why." I cast the footage to the TV. Tiffany's face appeared on screen, creeping into Landon's room, bowl of water in hand, whispering nonsense. Camille gasped. Kevin nearly choked on his coffee. "Ma'am," he said, turning to Tiffany. "What exactly were you doing?" Tiffany's face crumpled. "It's not what it looks like." Kevin raised an eyebrow. "You sure? Because it looks like you're performing some kind of ritual in a kid's room." "I was helping," she cried. "He's been seeing shadows. You don't understand. This house has bad energy." "Oh, it's got bad energy, all right," I said. "Mostly because of you." "Marcus," Camille snapped, still processing. Let her explain. Explain? I repeated. What's left to explain? We've got 4 angles, full audio, and enough evidence to get her banned from every babysitting app in America. Kevin tried to stay neutral, but even he couldn't help it. Camille, this isn't normal, he said gently. You need to take this seriously. Camille's voice trembled. I didn't think it was that bad. I turned to her. You wanted proof. Here it is. Tiffany suddenly stood up, her tone changing from panicked to furious. You're trying to make me look crazy, she screamed. You've hated me since the day I moved in. Oh, don't flatter yourself, I said. I've hated plenty of freeloaders before you. You're just the most theatrical. Stop mocking me, she shrieked. Kevin stood, calm but firm. Ma'am, I think it's time you leave. Camille's eyes filled with tears. Tiff, please. Tiffany turned on her sister. You're choosing him over me? Camille hesitated, voice cracking. You need help, Tiff. That broke her. Tiffany screamed, a raw, frustrated sound, and shoved her chair back so hard it hit the wall. Fine, she spat. You'll regret this. Both of you. Already do, I said under my breath. Kevin escorted her upstairs to pack. 10 minutes later, she came down with 2 suitcases, mascara streaked down her face like war paint. She stopped at the door and turned toward me, her voice eerily calm. You think you've won, Marcus, but you don't understand what's in this house. I crossed my arms. Lady, the only thing in this house that needed to leave is leaving. She stepped out, and I slammed the door behind her. The silence that followed was deafening. Camille sank into a chair, eyes distant. I can't believe she's gone. Believe it, I said, and let's keep it that way. Kevin gave me a look, half proud, half, I told you your in-laws were nuts. You did the right thing, he said quietly. I nodded, but my stomach twisted. Yeah, just wish it didn't feel like I had to nuke the whole situation to do it. He clapped my shoulder. Sometimes that's what it takes. After he left, Camille and I didn't speak for hours. We just sat in separate rooms, pretending the sound of the dishwasher was normal. But underneath the silence was this new kind of tension, grief mixed with relief. That night, Landon came into our room holding his blanket. Is Aunt Tiff gone for real? Yeah, buddy, I said softly. She's gone. He nodded, visibly relaxing. Can I sleep here tonight? Of course. When he crawled between us and finally drifted off, I felt that gnawing sense of dread lift, just a little. For the first time in months, the house felt still. No whispering, no candlelight, no energy cleansing. Just quiet. But as I stared into the dark, I couldn't stop thinking about Tiffany's last words. You don't understand what's in this house. Because as crazy as she was, she'd said it with conviction. And I couldn't shake the feeling that she meant it. There's a particular kind of calm that comes after you've thrown someone out of your house. That sweet silence that feels like the walls themselves are sighing in relief. That was the vibe for the first 24 hours after Tiffany left. The air smelled cleaner, the floors felt firmer, and even the lights seemed brighter. Landon was back to laughing. Camille wasn't crying. Yet, and I could finally eat my snacks without filing a missing persons report with the pantry. But if you've ever lived with someone who thrives on chaos, you know they leave a residue. Like glitter. You think it's gone, and then you catch a sparkle in the carpet and realize, nope, still here. Tiffany was gone physically, but somehow her presence lingered. Her perfume still clung to the couch. Her crystals were still lined up on the windowsill like sparkly landmines. And every time the floor creaked at night, my brain whispered, she's back. 3 days after she left, Camille was still in mourning mode, like her sister had died instead of been evicted. She walked around the house like a ghost, clutching her coffee mug and staring at her phone. I knew what she was doing, waiting for a text from Tiffany. When I came home from my route Friday evening, she was sitting at the dining table surrounded by photo albums, sniffly and red-eyed. I just don't understand how things got this bad, she said. Tiff wasn't always like this. She was exactly like this, I said, hanging up my jacket. You just didn't notice because she used to live somewhere else. Camille glared. You could show a little compassion. I did, I said. 18 months of compassion. Free room, free food, free therapy session every time she cried about energy parasites. She's my sister, Camille whispered. Yeah, and she was creeping into our son's room like a bedtime burglar. I snapped. Family or not, that's a deal breaker. Camille winced. I just wish we could help her. She needs professional help, not my Wi-Fi password. She looked like she wanted to argue, but didn't. She just stood up and walked away, leaving me alone with the ghosts of bad decisions past. That night, I decided to do a final cleanup. I grabbed a trash bag and started collecting all the leftover nonsense Tiffany had scattered around. Half-burned candles, weird jars of herbs, rocks she claimed vibrated at a higher frequency. When I reached the windowsill, I noticed something I hadn't before, a small pouch tied with red string tucked behind one of the crystals. Curiosity got the better of me. I untied it. Inside was a folded piece of paper, stiff with dried wax. On it, written in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Keep the boy's light safe. Block the father's shadow." I nearly dropped it. Now, I'm not a superstitious man. I don't believe in ghosts, curses, or psychic cats. But reading that, after everything I'd seen, sent a chill crawling down my spine. I tucked the paper into my pocket and threw the rest of the stuff in the trash. I didn't tell Camille. She'd just say it was symbolic. Later that night, I went to check on Landon before bed. He was asleep, breathing softly, one hand clutching his stuffed bear. For the first time in weeks, he looked peaceful. I leaned down and kissed his forehead, whispering, "You're safe now, buddy." The next morning, things finally started feeling normal again. We had pancakes. Camille laughed, actually laughed, at one of Landon's silly jokes. I thought maybe, just maybe, the storm had passed. Then the doorbell rang. I opened it and almost slammed it shut again. Tiffany stood there, hair a mess, eyes red, clutching a grocery bag like it contained her soul. "Don't," I said flatly. "Whatever this is, don't." "Marcus, please," she said, voice trembling. "I left something important. I just need 5 minutes." "You left a lot of things," I said, most of which I threw out. Her eyes widened. "You didn't touch the windowsill, did you?" My heart thumped once hard. "Why?" Her face drained of color. "Because that was for protection." "Protection from what?" I demanded. She shook her head violently. "You don't understand." "You." Camille's voice interrupted from behind me. "Tiff." "Camille." Tiffany rushed forward, but I blocked her. "She's not coming in," I said. Camille frowned. "Marcus, let her get her stuff. Her stuff is in the trash where it belongs." Tiffany's voice rose. "You can't throw away energy wards." "Lady, I can throw away anything I bought," I said. Camille squeezed my arm. "Marcus, please." I looked between them, my exhausted wife and her wide-eyed sister, and sighed. 5 minutes. And I'm watching you." Tiffany nodded frantically and darted past me. She went straight to Landon's room. I followed, arms crossed, ready to yank her out if she so much as breathed weird. She froze in the doorway, staring at him sleeping. "He's brighter now," she whispered. I gritted my teeth. "Don't start." She turned to me, eyes wild. "You don't get it, Marcus. He's special. The things I saw. You saw your eviction notice." "That's all," I said. But she didn't stop. She reached into her bag and pulled out another candle, small and white. I stepped forward. "Put that down." "It's just for cleansing," she cried. "The house still feels heavy. You don't understand, his light attracts." I snatched the candle from her hand. "We're done with this. Out. Now." Camille appeared behind us, her expression torn. "Tiff, you should go." Tiffany looked betrayed. "You're choosing him over me again?" Camille's voice broke. "You need help." That was it. Tiffany's mask cracked. She let out this guttural, half-sob, half-laugh sound that didn't sound human. "You think you're safe? You're not safe," she hissed. "He brings it with him wherever he goes." I stepped between her and my family. "You need to leave right now." She glared at me one last time, then stormed out. The door slammed so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. Landon stirred, mumbling in his sleep. I picked the frame up, my pulse still racing. Camille collapsed onto the couch downstairs, silent tears streaming down her face. I sat beside her, rubbing her back. "She's gone for good now," I said softly. Camille nodded, whispering, "I hope so." But that night, hope felt like a fragile thing. Around midnight, I woke up to a noise. A faint humming sound. I thought maybe Camille left the TV on. But when I looked at her, she was fast asleep. The sound was coming from the hallway. I sat up, heart pounding. Slowly, I got out of bed and opened the door. The air felt charged, heavy, like static before a storm. The hallway light flickered. I followed the humming to Landon's room. His door was slightly open. My stomach twisted as I pushed it wider. He was sitting up in bed, eyes half open, mumbling something I couldn't understand. "Buddy," I whispered. He didn't respond. just kept murmuring. Then I saw it, a candle on his nightstand. Unlit, but unmistakably the same kind Tiffany had held earlier. I grabbed it, my hands shaking. Where did you get this? I asked gently. Landon blinked like he was waking from a dream. Aunt Tiff said it would keep the bad things away, he mumbled. She gave it to me before she left. My throat went dry. When did she give it to you? The day she moved out, he said. She said not to tell. I sat there for a long moment, staring at that stupid candle. I wanted to laugh, cry, and throw it out the window all at once. Instead, I carried it downstairs and threw it in the garbage. Then I took the trash out to the curb and slammed the lid so hard it echoed. When I came back in, the house was quiet again. But that uneasy feeling, that thick air, stayed. The next morning, Camille noticed the bags under my eyes. Rough night. Didn't sleep well, I admitted. She frowned. I dreamed about Tiff. She was standing by Landon's bed, humming. I froze mid-sip of coffee. That's weird. Because I heard humming, too. She laughed nervously. We're probably just paranoid. Yeah, I said slowly. Probably. But the truth was, I didn't believe that. Because when I went to take out the trash later that day, the can was empty. And sitting on top of the lid, clean and unburned, was that damn candle. The candle sat on the trash can like it was mocking me, clean, unburned, and perfectly upright, even though I'd thrown it out 12 hours earlier and it had rained half the night. I just stood there on the porch in my hoodie, dripping coffee on the concrete, staring at it like it might blink first. You know that feeling when logic and panic start fighting in your brain? One part screaming, it's wind, it's coincidence, stop being weird. And the other part whispers, yeah, but what if it's not? That was me, standing there like an idiot at 7:14 a.m., trying to rationalize how a candle Houdini'd its way out of a garbage can. Camille came up behind me, rubbing her eyes. You've been out here for 10 minutes. What are you doing? I pointed. Explain that. She squinted. What? The candle? Maybe the garbage guys left it. They don't collect on Sundays. Then maybe a raccoon. Raccoons don't respect wax placement. Camille. She sighed. Marcus, you're tired. You've been paranoid since she left. Please just let it go. Let it go. She said it like we were talking about a parking ticket. I didn't respond. I just picked up the candle, stared at it a second, then shoved it into my jacket pocket and went back inside. All morning, the house felt wrong again. Not loud wrong, quiet wrong. Landon was off too. He was usually a chatterbox during breakfast, but he just sat there, poking his scrambled eggs. You okay, buddy? I asked. He shrugged. Bad dream. Want to tell me? He hesitated, eyes flicking toward Camille, then back to me. Aunt Tiff was here. My fork froze midair. When, in my dream, he said. She was standing by the window. She said she forgot something. I forced a smile. It was just a dream, champ. He nodded, but he didn't look convinced. And neither was I. Around noon, I did what any rational, sleep-deprived man in my situation would do. I called Kevin. Bro. He answered between bites of something crunchy. You sound like you saw a ghost. I might have, I said. Uh-huh. Is this about Tiffany again? Yes. He groaned. Man, she's gone. You won. Why are you still thinking about her? Because stuff's weird, that's why. I threw out one of her candles, and it came back. He snorted. You sure Camille didn't fish it out to make peace with her sister's spirit? Not funny. I'm serious, man. People process things differently. She dreamed about Tiffany last night. So did Landon. That made him pause. Okay, that's kinda creepy. Yeah, I said. And I found one of those weird notes she left, talking about blocking my shadow. All right, Kevin said, the humor gone from his voice. I'm coming over. He showed up an hour later in jeans and his off-duty badge clipped to his belt like he was auditioning for CSI, Suburbia. All right, he said, setting down his coffee. Show me what you've got. I pulled out the folded note and the candle. Exhibit A and Exhibit B. He studied the note, frowning. Dude, this looks like she copied it from a witchcraft subreddit. Funny you should say that. She was always on her phone reading that kind of junk. He handed it back. So what's the plan here, Mulder? You want me to call this in as a haunting? No, I want you to admit this isn't normal. Kevin shrugged. It's weird, sure, but not illegal. Neither is losing your mind, apparently. I muttered. He gave me a look. Marcus, you've been under stress. You kicked out your wife's sister, you're arguing with Camille every day, and you're working too much. That kind of pressure messes with your head. So you think I imagined the videos? The candles? The whispers? I'm saying your brain's trying to make sense of chaos, he said. Maybe Tiffany's gone, but the paranoia stuck around. I rubbed my temples. You sound like Camille. Good, he said. She's right. I didn't answer. But that conversation crawled under my skin and stayed there like a splinter. That evening, Camille and I had one of those quiet non-dinner dinners where you can hear the forks louder than the conversation. Landon was in his room building a Lego city. I pushed my mashed potatoes around and finally said, "You know Kevin thinks I'm losing it?" Camille didn't look up. He's a cop. They all think everyone's losing it. I chuckled. Fair. Then she sighed. Marcus, maybe he's not wrong. That hit harder than I expected. Excuse me. She finally looked at me, eyes soft but firm. You've been obsessed. Watching old footage. Checking the cameras every night. You're scaring me a little. Scaring you? I'm trying to protect you. From what, Marcus? She's gone. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside. You didn't see her face that last night, Camille. The way she looked at Landon, it wasn't normal. She said there was something in this house. Camille's jaw clenched. You think I don't remember that? I've been trying not to. Before I could respond, Landon screamed. Not the playful kind, the bone-deep, something's wrong kind. We both bolted upstairs. His room was dark except for the glow of his rocket nightlight. He was sitting up in bed, pale and shaking. Buddy, I rushed to him. What happened? He pointed at the window. She was there. Who? Aunt Tiff. She was outside. She was looking at me. Camille gasped, running to the window. I flicked on the light, heart hammering, and yanked the curtains open. Nothing. Just the yard, the old oak tree, the streetlight flickering in the distance. She's gone. Camille whispered, voice trembling. She was there. Landon insisted, tears spilling down his face. She waved at me. I pulled him close, feeling his little heart pounding. It's okay, buddy. You're safe. But my hands were shaking. After we finally got him calmed down and back to sleep, I went outside with a flashlight. The grass was damp, the air heavy with rain. I scanned the yard, nothing. I was about to turn back when the beam of light caught something near the window. Footprints. Bare ones. I crouched down. They were small, women's size, and clear as day in the mud. I followed them halfway to the road before they vanished. When I went back inside, Camille was waiting at the door, pale as chalk. You were gone too long. What did you see? I showed her the photos on my phone. Her knees buckled, and I caught her before she fell. No, she whispered. No, Marcus, she wouldn't. But she might. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the hallway, waiting for movement. Around 1 a.m., my phone buzzed, motion alert. I opened the app and froze. The camera feed showed Landon's room door slowly opening. My blood ran cold. Then a shadow crossed the frame. Thin, familiar, feminine. I zoomed in, heart racing. It wasn't Tiffany. It was Camille. She walked up to Landon's bed, touched his forehead, and whispered something. The app picked up faint audio. It's okay, baby. She's gone now. Don't be afraid. Relief flooded me, followed by guilt. Of course it was Camille. Of course she'd check on him after what happened. I felt stupid for assuming the worst. I was about to close the app when something moved behind her. A second shadow. I blinked. No, it couldn't be. I rewound. Played again. It was faint, like static, a silhouette near the doorway. The moment Camille turned toward it, the feed glitched and froze. My hands were sweating. I hit refresh. The image returned, the room empty. Come on, Marcus, I muttered. Get it together. But when I checked the hallway camera, it had caught something too, the faint outline of a figure passing through the beam of light. And here's the part that made my blood turn to ice. That figure wasn't barefooted. It was wearing the same white robe Tiffany wore every night she snuck into that room. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. By morning, I looked like hell. Dark circles, jittery hands, caffeine pumping through my veins. Kevin dropped by again after I called him in a panic. I showed him the footage. He watched it twice, frowning. Could be light refraction, he said finally. Reflection off the camera lens. Reflection of what? Anything. Shadows, headlights, bugs. Headlights don't wear robes. Kevin. He sighed. Look, bro, I get it. You're freaked out. But you can't keep living like this. I'll have a patrol car swing by tonight, okay? Just in case. That helped for about 5 minutes. The rest of the day was a blur. Camille barely spoke. Landon clung to his stuffed bear like a lifeline. And me? I just watched. Every noise, every flicker, every shadow. That night, around 11:30, I turned on all the lights. I didn't care if the electric bill doubled. I wasn't playing games anymore. Camille came downstairs in her robe. Marcus, you need to stop. I'm not stopping until I know she's gone for good, I said. She's not here, Camille said softly. You're scaring Landon. And me. I looked at her, really looked at her. You didn't see what I saw. No, she whispered. And I don't want to. She turned to go upstairs, but I caught her arm. Camille, what if she's right? What if there is something in this house? Her expression hardened. Then we deal with it together. But right now, you're the one haunting us. That stung more than I'd admit. But later, when she'd gone to bed, I checked the footage again, frame by frame. And there it was. In the last clip, just before the hallway camera cut off, you could see a hand, pale, thin, brushing against the wall. And on the wall, in faint chalk, were 3 words. I told you, if you've ever lived through a nightmare long enough, you start craving normal like it's oxygen. After everything, the whispers, the videos, the candle, the footprints, I wanted nothing more than to sit in my kitchen, drink mediocre coffee, and pretend my family wasn't one seance away from a Netflix documentary. But peace in my house had apparently filed for bankruptcy. Camille and I weren't talking much after that night. The "I told you" written on the wall felt like a bruise we were both pretending not to touch. She'd quietly scrubbed the words away the next morning, muttering about chalk residue and Landon's imagination. Right. Because my 8-year-old definitely wrote cursive ghost graffiti at 3 a.m. I wasn't sleeping much either. Every creak in the house made me twitch. Even the fridge sounded judgmental now, humming like it was saying, "You brought this on yourself, Marcus." Then, one glorious Tuesday, something changed. The house was quiet, normal quiet, not horror movie quiet. No camera alerts. No late-night whispers. Landon was laughing again, watching cartoons, spilling cereal on the floor. Camille looked lighter too, humming as she packed his lunch. For the first time in weeks, the air didn't feel thick. I dared to believe maybe, just maybe, the storm was finally over. And because I'm an idiot with misplaced optimism, I decided to celebrate. I called it my eviction party. No guests, no banners. Just me, a 6-pack, and a Sharpie to write House Rules 2.0 on the fridge. It was petty, therapeutic, and very on-brand for a man one coffee spill away from losing it. Rule number 1, no rent-free relatives. Rule number 2, no spiritual seances. Rule number 3, no exceptions. I taped it to the fridge, cracked open a beer, and raised it in a private toast. To peace, sanity, and finally taking my damn house back. It felt good. For about 30 seconds. Then the doorbell rang. Now, I wasn't expecting anyone. Kevin was on night shift, and the Amazon guy didn't usually deliver at 7 p.m. So when I opened the door and saw no one there, just a small package on the porch, I got that familiar crawl up my spine. The box was plain. No return address. Handwritten label. Just my name. I called out, "Real funny, FedEx." Because that's what you do when you're scared and pretending you're not. Camille appeared behind me. "Who's it from?" "No clue." She frowned. "Maybe Kevin?" He'd text first. We stared at it like it was ticking. Finally, I picked it up and shook it. Lightweight. Something rattled inside. Camille grabbed scissors. "Let's just open it." I cut through the tape and lifted the lid. Inside was a single candle. White. New. Wrapped in red string. Camille gasped. And tucked beneath it, a note. Same shaky handwriting as before. "You threw away the wrong one." I dropped the box like it burned me. No. Nope. Not doing this again. Camille covered her mouth, tears welling. "Marcus, what does it mean?" "It means your sister's still out there, playing Ghostbusters from a distance." Camille shook her head. "She wouldn't send this. She doesn't even have our address anymore." "Oh, I'm pretty sure she memorized it while living rent-free for a year and a half." I snapped. She winced. "Marcus, stop." But I couldn't stop. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. "She's screwing with us, Camille. I told you she wasn't done. You think people like her just disappear?" Camille stepped closer, voice trembling. "Then what do? We end this," I said. "Properly." She looked at me, worried. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm calling Kevin." 10 minutes later, my brother pulled up, siren off, headlights cutting through the dark like we were in a bad cop show. He got out, chewing gum, calm as ever. You really need to start charging admission for this circus, he said. Read the note, I said, shoving it into his hand. He scanned it, frowning. Same handwriting. Yeah. He examined the candle next. You sure this isn't one of the ones you tossed? I'm positive. He looked skeptical. Marcus, I'm not saying you're wrong, but sometimes. Don't, I said sharply. Don't hit me with another your stressed speech. You see this handwriting? You think Landon did that too? Kevin sighed. Okay. So what's the play here? You want me to go knock on her door? Yes, I said. And make it clear she's not to contact us again. No visits. No letters. No witch starter kits in the mail. Camille whispered, Kevin, maybe you should check on her. She sounded unstable last time. He nodded. I'll look into it. That night, he texted me around midnight. Kevin, talk to her landlord. Me, she's still in town? Kevin, nope. Moved 2 weeks ago. No forwarding address. I stared at the screen for a long time. Moved 2 weeks ago, before the package arrived. I didn't tell Camille that part. The next morning, Landon came into the kitchen holding something. Dad, look what I found. I turned and nearly dropped my coffee. He was holding a candle. Not the one from the box. A different one. Half-burned. The exact kind Tiffany used in her midnight rituals. Where did you get that? I asked. In the backyard, he said innocently. By the tree. It was just sitting there. Camille froze. Marcus. I took the candle from him carefully. It was warm. That's when I noticed the faint wax trail leading toward the fence. I followed it all the way to the gate. And there, half buried in the mud, was something that made my blood run cold. Footprints. Again. Bare. But this time, smaller. Landon's size. I called Kevin immediately. She's been here, I said. I know it. He sounded groggy. Marcus, it's 7 a.m. I don't care if it's 7 Mars time. She was here. He sighed. You checked the cameras? Yes. But when I pulled up the footage, the app said error. Feed disconnected. The cameras had gone offline sometime after midnight. Kevin came over 2 hours later with that cop face that says, I'm humoring you, but also mildly concerned. He walked the yard, took photos, even lifted a few prints. Could be anyone, he said finally. Kids cutting through the yard. Kids with candles? I said. Marcus, he warned, don't do this to yourself. But I was already gone. Not physically, mentally. I was halfway down the rabbit hole, and my sanity was waving goodbye from the entrance. That afternoon, Camille tried to lighten the mood. Let's just go out tonight. Dinner, maybe a movie? Sure, I said automatically. We got dressed, left Landon with our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Parker, and drove to this little Italian place downtown. For a moment, it almost felt like old times. Her smile, the smell of garlic bread, no talk of candles or shadows. Halfway through dinner, Camille reached across the table and took my hand. You know, you've been holding this house together even when everything fell apart. I'm sorry I doubted you. That hit me like a truck. Hey, I said, smiling. We both went through hell. I just want things normal again. Me too, she whispered. We got home around 9. I tipped Mrs. Parker, thanked her, and went to check on Landon. He was asleep, tucked under the covers. The nightlight glowed soft blue. Peaceful. Finally peaceful. Camille went to shower while I sat at the edge of the bed, brushing a hand over Landon's hair. You did good, champ, I whispered. No nightmares tonight. Then I saw it. On the nightstand. A candle. White. Red string. New. My blood turned to ice. I snatched it up and ran to the living room. Camille. She came out wrapped in a towel, alarmed. What happened? I held up the candle. How did this get back in here? Her face drained of color. Marcus, that was in the box. I put it in the basement. Well, congratulations, I said tightly, because it's having a field trip in our son's room. Her eyes darted toward the stairs. Maybe he didn't, I snapped. He's been asleep since we left. She covered her mouth. Marcus, I don't understand. Neither do I said. But I'm done waiting for it to make sense. I grabbed my phone, called Kevin again. Bring your gun, I said. He was there in 10 minutes flat. We checked every inch of the house, attic, basement, yard. Nothing. No footprints this time. No open windows. Just the lingering scent of wax. Kevin rubbed the back of his neck. Marcus, I don't know what to tell you, man. You've got me spooked. I looked at him. You still think it's just stress? He didn't answer. That night, I couldn't stay still. I poured myself a drink, sat on the couch, and stared at the candle sitting on the table like a smug little demon souvenir. Camille came down around midnight, sleepy-eyed. Come to bed. Not yet. Marcus, please. This obsession, it's eating you alive. Better me than our kid. She looked at me sadly, then went back upstairs. I sat there for hours. The candle didn't move, didn't flicker, didn't do anything. Until 2:17 a.m. That's when I heard a soft creak from upstairs, followed by a voice. Landon's voice. Mom. Then Camille's voice. It's okay, baby. Go back to sleep. Except, Camille was asleep in our bed. I could hear her breathing through the monitor. My stomach turned cold. I ran up the stairs, 2 at a time. Landon's door was half open, and standing beside his bed, her hand hovering just over his shoulder, was Tiffany. Not a hallucination. Not a dream. Tiffany. She turned her head slowly, eyes wild, skin pale. You shouldn't have thrown them away, Marcus, she whispered. You let it in. I lunged forward, but she was gone, vanished like smoke. Landon gasped awake, crying. Camille ran in seconds later, panicked. What happened? I was shaking, pointing at the empty spot by the bed. She was here. I swear, Camille, she was right here. But there was nothing. No candle, no footprints, no trace of anything, except the faint smell of lavender and smoke. That's when I realized Tiffany had been right about one thing all along. The house wasn't haunted by her. It was haunted by whatever she'd brought with her. 6 months later, the house finally breathed again. The air didn't taste like dread anymore. The walls didn't hum with tension, and Landon laughed freely. That belly-deep, pure kind of laugh that used to fill every corner. Camille and I still carried our scars, invisible ones, but at least we'd stopped walking on eggshells. The candles were gone, the crystals gone, the cameras boxed up in the attic like ghosts of their own. Tiffany never came back. Not in person, not in letters, not even in whispers. Kevin said her landlord claimed she left town without warning, moving somewhere quiet. The cop part of him found that suspicious. The brother part of me just called it karma. Life returned to something like normal. I went back to driving my routes, those endless stretches of highway that never asked questions. There's something comforting about asphalt. It doesn't care about what's haunting you. It just keeps going, mile after mile, until your thoughts finally shut up. Sometimes, when I'm halfway between states and the sky's too dark to tell where it ends, I think about that night, about what Tiffany said before she vanished. You let it in. Maybe she was talking about herself. Maybe she was talking about something else. Either way, she wasn't wrong. I had let it in. The doubt, the fear, the exhaustion. I let someone else's madness rent space in my head and forgot to collect payment. Camille and I are rebuilding, slow and quiet. We talk more now, laugh more, sleep easier. Landon's drawings went from black scribbles back to bright superheroes. Sometimes, when I tuck him in, he still asks, Dad, do you think Aunt Tiff's okay? And I always answer, yeah, buddy. I think she's finally where she needs to be. He smiles, and I believe it, even if I don't fully know what it means. Driving one night last week, I caught a glimpse of something in my side mirror, just a flash of white at the edge of the road. A robe maybe, or fog, or nothing at all. I slowed down, heart pounding, but there was nothing there. Just my reflection staring back, tired but alive. That's the thing about the road. It teaches you how to move on. Not because you forget where you've been, but because you finally accept you can't drive backward forever. So yeah, maybe there was something in that house. Maybe there wasn't. But what I know for sure is this. Family can haunt you worse than any ghost, and peace isn't found in silence. It's earned through every mile you keep going, no matter how much the past screams in the rearview mirror. And if I ever see another candle tied with red string, I'm not lighting it. I'm running it over.